to give you an idea, when we're talking about biodiversity, we're talking about monopolies, we have to think big. We have to think, okay, how do we protect our planet? We learned a lot about Monsanto's plans and the biotech industry's plans in a San Francisco biotechnology conference held in January of 1999. Monsanto's consultant, Arthur Andersen Consulting, they were Enron's consultant, described how they had asked Monsanto executives to say, what was your ideal future? What is your major goal? And they described a world in which 100% of all commercial seeds in the world were genetically engineered and patented. And Arthur Andersen worked backwards from that goal to create the strategy and tactics to achieve it. Another biotech representative from another company projected a 95% takeover of all commercial seeds by 2004. So they want to replace nature. Fortunately, the eruption in Europe and the subsequent commitment by the food companies not to use GM ingredients in European brands has put the brakes on this incredibly dangerous world domination scheme. But they still have about 200 different species that have been created or field trialed. There's been 50,000 field trials in the United States, 56 at least crops prepared in some levels of stage for India. So they are waiting to slip in their patented genetically modified crops into our food supply. Now, what does this mean? What if they are successful? If they're successful, of course, if they want to genetically engineer and patent all of the world's food supply and all of the seeds, it means that's the only place you can get your seeds from their catalogs. So all of the millions of varieties that have been basically saved on different farms that are appropriate for that microclimate and microsoil, basically the security of our food supply, which is based in diversity, especially now that we're facing climate change, where we may need to use traits that have never been so important in the history of civilization as they will be in the coming century. Now they want to eliminate all of those and have all of the seeds, those that you can pick from their catalog. In the United States, farmers used to have 400 or 500 sources of seed input. In the soy, corn, cotton, and canola areas, now they have 4 or 5. 4 or 5 companies. And what do those companies do? They eliminate the non-GM varieties systematically, the high-yield non-GM varieties. One farmer told me it's very difficult for him to get seeds for the type of soil, the type of climate he has. In parts of India, you cannot buy non-BT cotton seed. Now, in order to generate their ideal future, they have to stop alternative types of seeds. So one way to do that is to buy up other seed companies. So they went on a buying spree. Monsanto is now the largest seed company. And in addition to eliminating non-GM alternatives, they're consciously eliminating seed saving. Certainly if you buy a GM crop, you sign a contract saying you will not save the seeds and plant it the next year. You'll go back to Monsanto or Syngenta or Bayer or DuPont and buy your seeds year after year. Now, to enforce that, they set up a legal system whose entire focus is to intimidate, sue, or threaten farmers. Hundreds and hundreds of farmers have been threatened, nearly 200 sued. They've gotten tens of millions of dollars from farmers. And you have the most amazing stories of corporate arrogance, typified by the experience of Percy Schmeiser. How many people have heard the story of Percy Schmeiser? How many people have never heard the story of Percy Schmeiser? Oh, okay. So once upon a time, Percy and his wife were planting canola for 50 years. And every year, he would find the best canola and save those seeds and develop the seeds. So for 50 years, he would develop the best seeds. And his seeds had properties that hardly anyone else had. You could plant it year after year and it wouldn't get the two popular diseases. It was a great accomplishment for him and his wife. Then Monsanto came along and introduced genetically modified herbicide-tolerant canola. You can spray the heck out of that canola. It'll kill all of the other plant biodiversity, but the GM canola will survive. And trucks would take their canola along a 2-mile road that was adjacent to his farm and bring canola to market. And the wind could blow in his direction, blowing these tiny seeds onto his field. And his neighbor also planted GM canola seeds. So of course he was contaminated. And he harvested, just like he did every year, the seeds, replanted the seeds, and it contained the genetically engineered canola. So he actually realized at one point that he was contaminated with Monsanto's herbicide-tolerant canola. They had ruined his 50 years of seed saving. So what happened? Monsanto sued him. Monsanto sued Percy because Percy had their patented intellectual property growing on his farm. And he harvested it and replanted it, and that was against the law. And so said the courts, including the Supreme Court. The ultimate ruling by the Supreme Court is if Percy at that point had any of his seeds left, any of his plants left, and he had disposed of them all, destroying the 50 years of seed saving, if he had any of those plants left, it would have been Monsanto's property. This was the law in Canada. He also told me that the seed treatment people, the ones that come in and clean the seeds and treat them, had a quiet relationship with Monsanto where they would steal a sample of every farmer's canola and then send it to Monsanto for testing to make sure no one was saving seeds. And somehow, magically, Monsanto came up with canola that could be planted year after year without getting those two major diseases. I wonder where they got those traits. Because they all of a sudden had access to all the biodiversity in the area because they were getting stolen seeds from everyone. Who knows where they got that? But they need to, they're then focused on trying to eliminate seed saving altogether by going after the seed cleaners. In the United States, you sometimes bring your seeds somewhere, they get them clean and you get them distributed, and those that were working on cleaning seeds started getting lawsuits. While I've been in India, someone I spoke with over the phone just before going to India, he said, they're going to sue me, and sure enough, they did. Apparently, according to him, they had planted a global positioning satellite transmitter on his car and were following him around and finding out wherever he did business and going and intimidating and interviewing all of his clients, choosing who they would get to testify on their behalf and who they would sue. So in the last month, they've distributed all these court subpoenas and lawsuits, and one of their people laughed and called it a rural cleansing. So if they eliminate seed cleaning, and then they eliminate seed saving also. So they want to have all of the farmers in the world buy their patented seeds. Now they have another technology to enforce that. It's called Terminator technology, designed specifically for the 1.4 billion farmers that save seeds each year. You see, when you grow a Terminator seed, you grow a sterile seed, so you can't replant it. Now we've already seen that Monsanto is really competent at convincing farmers that their products will benefit the farmer, irrespective of how good or bad the seeds are. Even if the seeds will ultimately lead to the farmer's suicide, even if they're creating lower yields, somehow they can get farmers to do their bidding.